Hi, CMA. Thanks for coming today. So nice to have you.
So glad to be here with you, Michelle.
So today I'm having CMA talk because this month in Womb Power, we're working with the theme of release and sort of with that bigger component, like release as in letting go of life, as well as grief and what you no longer need. And so it's a big topic. And CMA is a grief recovery educator, and we're going to focus on grief today. And so she's also an educator in end of life planning, and her website is GoodGrief.Rocks.
Drum
Like if
roll.
that isn't if that isn't the funnest website title for a heavy duty subject. So how did you come up with grief, GoodGrief.Rocks, my dear?
Yeah, because GoodGrief.Rocks. It rocks. So the reason why Good Grief rocks is because grief is a teacher. And yeah, when you were talking about release and letting go, like how many of us are big fans of letting go? There are things, for some of us, there are so many things that we don't want to let go of, or even know that it's probably a good idea to let go, but it's so hard to let go.
Yeah.
I've got a
I'm
friend of mine
sorry.
who is,
I'm so
yeah,
sorry. No, I was just going to say, I can't even let go of stuff, just to let go of stuff like clutter clearing. But anyway, yeah. What were you going to say?
well, that's exactly right. I mean, everything has meaning.
Mm,
And whether we can let go of the thing and keep the meaning that we want to keep from it,
mm,
like that's an art, right? To let go of things that can weigh us down and that can accumulate and that are no longer really necessary. It's
mhm.
kind of hard to let that go until we've reached a certain level of meaning that says, there's a part of this letting go piece that I can cherish, and I don't need a thing to remind me of how much I cherish that piece. And that keeps me light, right? When I don't hold on to the stuffaces, but I can continue to hold on to the magic, the good feelings, the vibrations, the pleasures, the joys, the learnings, the gratitudes, the gratefulness of what these things represent to me, when I can keep that and not have to keep the weight of it. And this is the thing about grief, I think, is that um, because we have so much trouble with grief, we avoid it like the plague, right? Like how many of us are talking grief on a daily basis in a way that feels helpful?
Totally.
And grief, oftentimes we can identify with the heavy bits of it, that, like, I can grieve the loss of my mom, for example. And if I'm not complete with that grief that's inside of me, if I haven't found the lightness, the bearable lightness of being with that grief of my mom's loss, and instead I'm feeling all the things I wish I could have said differently, all the things I could have done better with her, all the things I could have done more of with her, and all those hopes, dreams, and expectations I wish I would have had with my mom that I won't get to have. If I can't let go of all those notions, which are spinning in my head and in my heart, then I can't fully enjoy all the wonderful things I had with my mom.
Mm,
And that's why grief is the teacher,
mm,
because I need to be able to let go of the things I can't get to, which are all the woulda, coulda, shouldas that I'm not going to get because mom's dead. But do I want to live the rest of my life carrying that on my back? And so many of us do. But there's a way that we can actually work through that. And this is what I love about what you teach us, Michelle. When you guide us into feeling the feelings and feeling the sensations, there is a relationship that we're building within ourselves, right? We're having a relationship with what's inside of ourselves. And we can do the same thing with grief.
Beautiful. So it sounds like, I mean, is part of your process with people to help them feel the grief?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And the first thing we do really is take a look at what losses have we had over the course of a lifetime. And so, can we play a game?
Sure.
Okay. Here's the game. So you recently moved, right?
Yes.
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 And I moved as well. Like 5 years ago, I moved from Quebec to here, Northern California. And I know that there are gains and losses with every loss that we have. When we lose a place, like when we're experiencing the loss of moving from point A to point B,
Yeah.
that move gives us gains to be aware of, and it gives us losses to be aware of, right?
Right.
So what kinds of gains and losses have you seen as you moved from point A to point B?
Well, great question. And I guess this is how you stay in gratitude, because you're looking at not just the losses, but I mean, the gain, well, okay, the loss was I left this amazing house in Bel Air that I lived in for 9 years rent free. I mean, it was like an amazing opportunity. And I lived with an older lady who I adored. Adored her, and some great caregivers along the way came along, and you know, I've had to say goodbye, although I get to visit them. But so that sort of sorority house with with these women I have lost in this beautiful house, and it was very quiet, and I had a lot of privacy up on the second floor. It was pretty much just me on the second floor, and so there was, you know, that was those are losses, and
Those are huge losses.
yeah,
Relationships, social fabric, a network, a sense of belonging,
yes,
a
yes,
connection with, people that you could trust being with,
yes, yes,
a safety and a security.
yes,
These are all amazing. And
yes, and a little dog too.
oh, always nice to have a little four-legged in the space.
Yes. And, you know, having to walk them every morning and all of those sort of things. Yes. So, so those were the losses. Is that right? And then the gains is that I'm staying at my friend's house. It's further away, but it's in a really quiet neighborhood. Like, it's the valley. So a lot of people say, oh, you're moving from Bel Air to the valley. Oh, bummer. And I'm like, yeah, it's farther away, but it's so peaceful. There's like a pool back there. There's I'm into gains. So garden, and she's one of my best friends.
Ooh.
And, you know, and living in, you know, with her family. So they have Friday night dinners, and it's just like a whole different energy. You know, there's young male energy, her sons, there's her husband, there's her family. And anyway, so yeah, it's like it's a whole new ball game.
Right. Yes.
Yeah.
And there is an art, right? We have to build muscles to be able to see the losses
Yeah.
and see the gains and then make a choice. Am I going to get burdened by the weight of all that I've lost and get sad, and ignore the feelings of, parts of this makes me sad. Parts of this makes me, you know, um, a little, I mean, what kinds of feelings do you have that when you think about having to leave behind this wonderful place in Bel Air with this wonderful woman and the gorgeous little four-legged you used to walk every morning? Like, there were feelings with that, right?
For sure. For sure. You mean feeling?
And
Yeah.
go ahead.
What are they?
Well, do any come up?
Um, yeah, let's see. Well, there's sort of like, I mean, there's a dog here too who I adore.
Ooh.
Yeah, and I do get to walk her in the evenings and n- not so much in the mornings, even though I do like the mornings. But um, so yeah, there's a little bit of, yeah, there's missing just, what are the feelings? I don't know how to, I
Well,
can
this
just,
is a perfect thing though, because that's what we've been accustomed to doing in society,
yeah,
is that we put the feelings aside.
right.
And so for all our entire lifetime,
Yeah,
we have been taught, that we don't want to show the feelings.
yeah,
We
it's true.
want to keep calm and carry on.
Yeah,
We want to replace our feelings with other things, like shiny objects that will keep us busy to not feel the feelings.
right.
Um,
You know,
and
oh, sorry, keep going.
go ahead.
Well, I just remember I actually was preparing my body for the move because I was like, you know what, did you really fully appreciate living here? And, because there was a time where I wasn't walking the dog because the other dog had died and there was a gap. And so I didn't walk for a while. And I was like, God, I could have been out walking and the trees are gorgeous and just receiving the serenity here. And so I was like, okay, I've got a few months to prepare. And every morning was like, just really appreciate what you have here so that you can feel like you fully appreciated it before you leave, because it will be a loss. These are gorgeous streets. They're different, they're
Yes,
different. And these are very tall trees and,
this is perfect. This is
mm,
absolutely perfect. So, there is this constant linking up of the gains and the losses that come together.
mhm,
And we live a lifetime of losses. We can live 40 plus different types of losses over the course of a lifetime, more than
mhm,
once. So there's breakups, there's, divorces, there's loss of youth, there's loss of autonomy, there's loss of mobility,
yeah,
especially if we have an illness that stops us from being out in the world and we're having to be more shut in.
wow,
There's loss of trust.
mm,
Like, if we've had several different relationships that didn't pan out and we're not feeling full and whole in these relationships with people, do we really trust being able to have a decent relationship with the next new person that comes into our lives? Maybe, maybe not. And
mm,
it's all because of how are we seeing the losses that we endure? And are we seeing the weight of the loss? Or are we seeing the glory of what we're gaining by transitioning into these new things?
right.
And society doesn't really help us to prepare, like
Mm,
you intuitively being in your body and teaching us how to be more in our bodies. You
mm,
intuitively heard your body say, let's take the last couple of months to truly enjoy and appreciate my relationship with my body in this space and place
yeah,
with these beings around me. And that way, when you do transition, you're able to be full hearted in that transition because you're able to hold both the loss and the gain of moving into a new place. I have a friend of mine that said she was going through a divorce. She's still in the process of going through a divorce. And she's also got this one other friend of hers that she knows is not supporting her in a way that she needs to be supported right now. And she said it was clear that this relationship wasn't helping her, and maybe she needed to put it on hold while she was going through this divorce and sort of be able to focus and feed herself, nourish herself to be able to go through this transition that she's going through. And I asked her, I said, so why not let go of the relationship with this other person for the time being? Like, why not? And she looked and she said, because I have spent my entire life having to drop people like hot potatoes. Throughout my entire life, whenever I've left them by the wayside, I've had to live with absolutely nothing and build myself up from there, build myself up from the blank slate of having to leave them by the wayside. And she goes, and I just don't want to do that again. I don't want to be in that blank slate anymore.
Wow.
And so the issue is not really about the other person, is it? The issue is about her and not wanting to have that blank slate. And so when we look at grief and look at recovery from grief, we're looking at what are the things that need to be, what are the amends that need to be made in how I feel about myself inside, my trusting in life, my trusting in myself, my trusting in source, knowing I can let go and I can get through on the other side. That's what grief recovery is all about, is being able to trust in yourself to get through to the other side with grace and ease.
Wow. It's such a big subject. I hadn't thought about it. So you work with all of them.
All of the losses.
All of the losses. Wow.
Because death is only one, like, of 40 plus losses. And death really is nothing more than another type of loss. But I think it's because we have such a hard time dealing with the losses of an entire lifetime that when we get to the big one, we're in a big fight against this big one because we've had such a hard time being in relationship with the lifetime of losses that we've been enduring day in and day out.
Wow.
Does that make sense?
Oh yeah, that's really amazing, because this reminds me of our conversation the other day where you were saying that. So it sounds like you can help people prepare even if they're nowhere near dying, but they can start tapping into unresolved losses.
Unresolved losses.
To either to prepare for that or to just be happier in the moment. Because
so I kind of see it like a backpack, right? So we're all carrying this backpack in life. No matter where we go throughout our life, from when we were born to when we die, we get this backpack. It comes with us. It comes with the package of our bodies.
Yeah.
Maybe our body is the backpack, if you want to think about it somatically. Maybe that would be interesting to explore. Right. But pretending we've got a backpack, every one of our losses can have a small, medium, or big impact. Right. So, and a small impact is like a pebble that gets thrown into our backpack. A medium impact, a rock, and a big impact, a boulder. So I've had 5 dogs in my life. And the first dog was basically the family dog when I was a kid, an only child with my mom and dad. And that was basically mom's dog. It felt like it was more mom's dog. His name's Felix. So when I lost Felix the dog, when I lost Felix the dog, it felt like a pebble was put in my backpack because I got to enjoy Felix every now and then, but Felix was truly mama's dog. When I was in a relationship in Denver, Colorado. I was 3 years with this wonderful partner of mine, and she had 2 dogs in the beginning, and then we brought a 3rd dog in.
Mhm.
So we were a family of 5.
Mm.
And when we broke up, I lost her
Mm.
and I lost the dogs.
Mhm.
And those dogs were, you know, I mean, I can't help it, right? I think others feel it. They were my kids, right? They were my little 4-legged kids.
Mm. Mm.
And so the breakup happened because of substance abuse, and I got cleared up from it, and my partner did not. And I had to move away. And so the dogs ended up going to my ex-partner's sister, who had a home and a backyard and was ready to become surrogate mama. But when I lost those 3 dogs, I mean, I have not had my own dog since. Yeah. So those are 3 big ass boulders in my backpack, because to the point where it's impacted me so much to have to truly relinquish these loved beings and to put them in the care of somebody else, when like I felt shame that I didn't get to take care of them
Mm.
right to the end. You know what I mean? Like to till their dying day. I didn't, I wasn't there for them. So I felt like I abandoned them. So I feel awful about that.
Mm.
And to the point where, I mean, sure, I've been moving around a lot, and my apartments are usually places that don't accept dogs. But if I really, 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 really felt like I could have another one, if I trusted myself that I could have another one and go through that again,
Mm.
I'd fight pretty hard to find a place that would accept dogs, right?
Yeah.
So those are big ass boulders in my backpack.
Mhm.
And unless I go through the process of making my amends with myself,
Mhm.
which is a very specific process, it's a series of specific action choices, which is why it's called the grief recovery method. When
Mm.
I go through the method of recovering from the grief that I have, for the shame and for the loss that is related to the loss of the honey and the loss of our kids, you know,
Wow.
I need to go through that process so that I can open up and trust that I can have new relationships without dealing with the big ass boulders in my backpack. So this is what happens to us, is that unless we lighten the load of our backpack with all those pebbles, rocks, and boulders that
Mhm.
are from all the losses we've endured in a lifetime, unless I take those out, my backpack has to withstand the ongoing load of pebbles, rocks, and boulders as I live through life. And that kind of heaviness that I have to carry for the rest of my life, unless I let them go, makes me tired, makes me ill,
Mm.
makes me bent out of shape,
Mm.
makes me have a distorted view on life, because I've lost my bandwidth to move on in life with a joyful demeanor, because I'm so sick and tired of carrying all those pebbles, rocks, and boulders in my backpack.
Mhm.
So when I'm close to death, years and years and years, or whenever, it could be tomorrow for all I know.
Mhm.
But if I'm at a point where I'm dying, my true physical leaving this planet death, if I'm dealing with a big ass backpack full of pebbles, rocks, and boulders, my death is going to be burdened by all those losses I have not resolved in my heart. So it's really important to be able to keep the backpack light and able to withstand the oncoming barrage of pebbles, rocks, and boulders. As long as we live, we're going to have loss.
Right.
But if I can maintain the weight of my backpack in such a way that helps me keep trucking and moving forward, then I'm okay.
Right.
And I've got a method that people can use to do that. But if I just keep letting that backpack get weighed down by all these pebbles, rocks, and boulders that I'm not letting go of bit by bit, then I am going to be very sorry, very tired, very exhausted, very unopened to seeking surprise and serendipity in my life, because I'm so sick and tired of being out of control with this ever increasing weight on my back.
Wow. Wow. I'm just putting do not disturb for a second here. Sunny the dog came to visit while you
I
were
saw
talking. Did you
that.
tell? I'm just gonna flash to her. Let's see.
Hey, Sunny. Hi,
Got her back to
Sunny.
us.
Happy puppy,
Oh,
Sunny.
thank you for that. Oh, my phone is still doing its thing. Whatever. Thank you for breaking that all down. And so, do you? I'm looking at the time, and I'm just thinking, yes. What do you have anything that you recommend people do when they're dealing with loss or grief? Is that your whole process, or is there anything like incremental step they can do, or what do you suggest people do?
Yeah. Well, so on my website, there is a loss counter. So on GoodGrief.Rocks.
Do you want to show us that beautiful logo, by the way?
Let's take a look at
By the
it.
way, that image, I just want people to know is that, do you want to say something about this image right now before we say goodbye to it?
All right. So, yeah.
Sorry.
So, when it comes to grief and loss, like, so we're going to walk the path of life no matter what, right?
Yep.
We're walking down the path of life. And what we have with grief as a teacher is that for every loss I encounter in my life, I have a crossroads. I have a choice. And the choice is, do I wish to continue unloading those pebbles, rocks, and boulders in my backpack and leave them by the wayside so that I can walk my path in a light way that makes me excited about what's coming down the road, what's around the bend, right? Because look at the horizon line, there's a bend there. Like, do I want to be excited about what's coming around the bend? Then I got to maintain the weight in my backpack to be able to have the resources. And this is the other thing I love about your somatics practice, right? We're coming back to our resources in our body. By feeling the feelings, by feeling the sensations, and by being in relationship with our body, which is our greatest teacher, we're understanding that we have resources. And so the backpack is also a way of maintaining those resources by keeping that backpack light and letting go of the boulders and the rocks and the pebbles. Or do I keep trucking along pretending that grief is not bothering me, pretending I'm going to keep calm and carry on and continue walking with this heavy ass backpack that is taking a toll on my body, it's taking a toll on my mind, it's taking a toll on my spirit. And so whatever's coming down the bend, whatever's coming down the bend, if I take that path where I'm not letting go of the weight in my backpack, whatever's coming around the bend, I'm not really all that excited about having me tap me out of whatever little energy I have left.
Wow. It's really awesome to put the tiredness also into this equation, you know?
Right?
Like, people don't often know why they're so tired. It could be that. That's an amazing, that could be an amazing piece that they're not looking at.
Yeah. And so, yeah, so as I change the photo here, we've got GoodGrief.Rocks. There I go, slightly to the side. On GoodGrief.Rocks, there's a tool called a loss counter. And so, count your losses. And when you count your losses, you begin to see what's in your backpack. How many pebbles, how many rocks, how many boulders do you have in your backpack? And, this is the landscape that you're carrying on your back. Wow. And there is an opportunity to be able to let go of it. And interestingly enough, when you go to GoodGrief.Rocks, what you get is a website, is the other name of my website, which is called enlighteninsightout.com.
Oh.
And it's like we're enlightening ourselves
Right.
by taking out the pebbles, rocks, and boulders. And
Brilliant.
the insights that we gain from having to do the work one step at a time of what it takes to let go of this rock, what it takes to let go of this boulder,
Mm.
which is essentially, what are the things I wished were different, better, or more that I'm going to let go of finally? What are the hopes and dreams and expectations I know are not going to happen that I am ready to let go of? So the enlightening of ourselves from the inside out is what gives us the quality of life to meet anything that comes around the bend. And that includes our ultimate death at the end of it. But do we want to die in struggle from that heavy ass backpack we've not been letting go of? Or do we want to die light and sort of fly ourselves or levitate ourselves up into whatever happens next? It's our choice. And that is the crossroad. And we have a choice.
Mm. You just make, I love everything you said. It's just so inspiring. It's really inspiring. Thank you. And we'll put your website, well, it's right there, GoodGrief.Rocks, but we'll definitely,
Rocks.
and um, and that tool is where, tell us again where that tool is that you mentioned.
Yeah, so I made it super easy to get to. You could be on any page of the website, but if you scroll to the very, 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 very bottom, you'll
Bottom.
see
Okay.
loss counter tool. And
Okay.
there's a flowy one for us artsy types. So there's a loss counter that is flowy version,
Oh.
and it's all very organic and round and circular.
Oh.
And you get to draw. And then there's the linear version
Oh.
if you prefer to have, your information in rows and columns.
Got it.
Because, and I love both types. I'm a little bit of a duo that way. So it depends on my mood. But yeah, there's the loss counter in flowy version and in linear version. And it does give information about thinking about how that is all the stuff that you're carrying in your backpack. And if you want to do something about it, as in learn how to do the grief recovery method, because you learn it once, but you apply it for a lifetime, because we're going to lose stuff. So basically we love the loser in ourselves because we're going to be losing stuff all the time. So do we want to rail against the idea of being such a loser and like pretending we're not a loser and, and all of that kind of stuff? Or it's like, hey, this is me. I'm a griever. I grieve my losses every day. And I have a method to make sure my backpack stays light throughout the course of my lifetime journey.
Amazing.
And so you can take that course either with me solo, and you can do that ASAP one-to-one, or you can sign up and be on a wait list. And when there's certain numbers of people, 6 to 12 people, we do a group.
Wow. Wow. Awesome. Grief rocks.
Good grief rocks.
Good grief rocks. .rocks. Well, thank you so much, CMA. Thank you so much. And so people will be able to find you with all of this awesome information. And thank you so much for enlightening us about grief and lightening the load of grief.
It is my indeed pleasure. Indeed, it is my pleasure. And also, I mean, for my own, for my own continuous walking down the path of my life, I want to thank you, Michelle, because I have been, doing womb power or being in the sacred space of womb power with you for I think we've passed our year anniversary. I think it's been over a year, right?
Yes, it has.
And you're teaching me so many things. So grief is about getting out of our heads and into our hearts, but you are teaching me that there is so much to be seen and honored in the sensations and feelings in our body. You are teaching me about the sensations and being with and how to be in relationship. And so that's why I love, I'm loving the idea of exploring how we can get into relationship with the grief inside our bodies by tracking those sensations and being well with them. And that's what you're teaching me. And so I thank you for the relationship that we've been developing all this time. And I love getting excited about what comes around the bend every time with womb power.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Whoa, I'm receiving. Thank
Yeah.
you. Awesome. All right. Bye for now.